This is Bourbon, Double Blind.
Hey, just a reminder that any profits that we make from the podcast go back to the Bourbon Society of Indiana, which we use to roll into charity events, which we're planning right now, called Whiskey for Warriors. If you haven't checked that out, all the proceeds from that will go to the Indiana Veterans Home in Lafayette. So with that, we want to thank our sponsors because they help us put on events like that. Our sponsor for today's episode is the Cicero Barrel Company. Anything you want that could be made out of a wine, whiskey, or bourbon barrel, they probably make it. Anything from massive coffee tables to end tables to light fixtures, all the way down to smaller stuff like this bottle opener that they made for our group for our first event we put on. They have a storefront up in Cicero, Indiana, just north of Indianapolis. You can also check them out online at timberlinesierra.com. That's TimberlineSierra.com. The best way to help support our group and the charity events we put on is to support the sponsors of the podcast because they help us front money for those events. Again, please check them out if you're in Cicero, Indiana, the Cicero Barrel Company, or online at TimberlineSierra.com. With that, we'll get back to the bourbon.
All right, welcome back to Bourbon Double Blind. If this is your first time listening or watching, the idea behind this is that we have myself or two other members of the Bourbon Society of Indiana trade samples blindly so they don't know what the heck they're drinking. With the idea that, one, I want everybody in our group to learn about each other, even though we don't hang out that often yet. And two, that you're able to try some bourbon and not be influenced by how expensive that bottle is or how hard it is to find. This is your first time watching? I'm Brandon. I help run the Bourbon Society of Indiana. And this is our first time having two guests. Usually it's just me or me and one other person. Our guests even have their official OG Bourbon Society of Indiana shirts on. Yeah, if you guys mind telling everybody your names, and then I have some intro questions that we'll go through so that everybody can get to know you.
Well, my name is Mike Wyzorek, and this is my wife, Beth.
Yep. So.
Yeah. We've hung out a couple times now. One at the group event we had.
Mm-hmm.
And then I showed them in Kentucky how you go about getting bourbon. You go wait in long lines on blankets.
Yeah. Sidewalk drinking. Woo!
Yeah. So if you ever see a line of people anywhere around Kentucky, and most of them are middle-aged white guys, it's probably a bourbon release.
Yeah.
May or may not have a dog.
Yes. If you guys don't want to answer any of these, you don't have to. If you don't want people knowing about you on the internet, but where are both of you from, and where do you live now?
I'm from Valparaiso, Indiana, and we live in Lowell now. Lowell, Indiana.
And
Mike,
I was born in Crown Point, Indiana, in Lakes of the Four Seasons.
Oh, wow. My parents actually live, right near Four Seasons. It's funny.
Yep.
Yeah. How long have each of you been enjoying bourbon or whiskey or anything of the sort? Yeah.
Well, him a lot longer than me.
You can answer first.
Well, I've been drinking bourbon probably for a solid 2 years. It took me a while to warm up to it, to be honest. It's can be intimidating, it has stereotypical, it's not really a girly drink. It's got some brute to it. And I started out only being able to drink it in like a cocktail or whatever. And so I kind of transitioned now into I really enjoy a nice pour of bourbon. I don't really like ice in it. I just kind of like it neat. But yeah, it took me a while to get to this point. It wasn't an overnight transition. I was able to do everything tasted like pure gasoline when I first started. And it tasted gross. I didn't like it at first. But then I feel like my palate matured and I was able to pick up on different things and and enjoy it. So if you're trying bourbon for the first time, don't just stop at the first sip. You have got to push through, get your tongue a little calloused, your throat a little sore. You got to get through it. So
No, that is great
So,
advice.
yes. So for me, I dabbled in it a little bit in college. All we used to do was just rip shots of it. I had no idea what the hell I was drinking. And probably like the last 4 or 5 years, I started getting into just drinking it neat, which is how I prefer it, no ice. I tend to gravitate towards the more hotter stuff, which my wife leans more towards like the 90-ish proof.
Mhm.
I like the 115 to 140 range. But yeah, I mean, I like it hot and I like it now. So that's how I like my bourbon, baby. Just like my wife, like it hot and now.
Oh, God.
here we are.
I'll be up that way in a few days. This won't come out for a while, but I'll be up that way soon. I'm going to bring you a sample of something, Mike, that is right up that alley. It's
Obtainium,
yeah, I got a Canadian whiskey version of it.
the 154
Ooh,
proof.
Papa. That's right here. Let me see.
I drank it last week with the red label or red writing.
It's Canadian 77, yeah, 0.6 proof
Yep.
or percent. Yeah.
I had that
So,
last Thursday and it is
Yeah.
delicious.
yeah. The thickness of it is astounding. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you.
You guys kind of already mentioned this, but your preferred way that you enjoy bourbon or whiskey now. Mike, you said neat, and Beth, it sounds like the same now.
Yeah, I do love, like, I will start out, like, if it's a bourbon night, which is almost all the time now, I will start out with some pours just to kind of enjoy them. I have my go-to ones, like I love Antique 107 or like E.H. Taylor, those, or Blanton's, or, just like whatever. If I want like a really like kind of like what I consider like a topper shelfer, and then I'll just have a few. I use the mini Glencairns. He uses the big ones. And so little and big. And then I will move to like a cocktail. I love mixology. And so I've kind of mastered like the old fashioned. I love Sazeracs. So that's kind of how I like it. I'll start with a couple pours and then I'm just moving to cocktails.
Yeah. No, I've become more and more of a fan of like spirit forward cocktails lately. Just like there's an art to it, which is awesome.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
You guys don't mind sharing, what is one or two of your favorite hobbies besides drinking bourbon on the internet?
Well, I'll go first. I love to be outside. I love to work in the garden when our, Indiana weather allows, when we have our good spring and summer seasons. I love to be outside. I do trough gardens because we live in a subdivision. So I love doing that. I cook almost every night. I love to cook. And gosh, that's it pretty much. And I've taken up a new hobby since the pandemic started. I read every day. I will read a 400-page novel in like a week, like
dang.
not even a week. And so I'm like a bookworm now, and I'll just sit outside and bake in the sun and read. So, yep.
Mike, what about you?
So for me, I play golf a ton, obviously when weather allows. And besides drinking bourbon, it's golf, bourbon, family life. I do a lot of. We purchased a new smoker over the pandemic, so
yeah.
I've been learning to tap into the barbecue scene, which everyone enjoys. Hence, I gained like 30 pounds. So rock on pork butts, ribs, and brisket. So yeah, there we go. Bourbon and barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my buddies that I meet on Mondays at the kind of the local spot here, he probably once a month he'll bring in some stuff that he smoked or barbecued for all of us. I'm just like, oh man, I got a bourbon and some fresh homemade barbecue. Like I could die now and it's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Can't beat that.
Yeah. Last thing, my idea behind most of these questions is I want people to see that Beth, kind of like you said, bourbon doesn't need to be intimidating, and that all
Right.
different types of people enjoy bourbon.
Yep.
Different walks of life, different sexes, genders, ages.
Mhm.
I don't know of much else that I don't mean this in a bad way by any means,
Yeah.
that I could sit down next to a 75-year-old Asian lady and talk to her
Yeah.
for 3 hours about, right?
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so the last question, then we'll get to some bourbon finally. Because we had so many technical difficulties. If you're watching this, it was 45 minutes for us to get to this point.
Yes.
Um,
We're thirsty.
Yes. What do each of you do for work, if you don't mind sharing?
I'll go first. I work for an electrical and mechanical engineering firm. Um, for the pandemic, when it came through in 2020, when COVID struck, they sent me home to work. So I work from home.
Mhm.
I'm not an engineer, but I work for a bunch of them. And so I'm kind of like their woman behind the scenes, if you will. I do everything and anything to keep projects open and flowing and making sure our budgets are on point. And they come to me for everything. They tell me every day they'd be lost without me. So just flattering. But yeah,
Mike would be
also
too.
exactly. And on top of that, just being a mama, my son will be our son will be 10 in June or the end of this month. So yeah.
Yeah. Mike,
Yep.
if people couldn't guess by the walls behind you.
Yeah, I'm a firefighter, EMT. I work full time for Tri Creek EMS, down in Lowell, the community we live in.
Hmm.
Also work part time at St. John Fire Department and Cedar Lake Fire Department. And
Oh,
then I
nice.
also have my own lawn care service.
Okay, nice. I didn't know that you guys were able to like spread out at different firehouses and stuff.
Yeah. If they paid us more, we could just stay at one, but
That's
Yeah.
a different podcast.
Yeah. All right. So before you guys drink, we kind of talked about this before we recorded, but I have three options here that I'm going to drink. I don't have any blind samples, but I'm going to let you guys pick which of these three I drink while you guys drink your blind samples. I grabbed a single barrel from New Riffs Distillery yesterday. I was there. It's 109 proof. I had a sample of it and it's great. This is a Penelope bourbon store pick. It's barrel strength and toasted. Also pretty good. I've at least opened this one. And then this one called Luca Mariano. They're from Michigan. I don't think they distribute in Indiana yet, which is unfortunate. But yeah, from Michigan, I bought all the bottles I found of it because I like it. I'll let you guys pick what I'm going to drink, and then we'll get to your stuff.
I think you should do the Michigan one.
Okay.
all right. I think you should try all three. That's just me.
Mike, you're a man after my heart.
You know it, brother. We've hung out too many times.
Yep. Well, I'm going to pour mine, and if you guys want to start drinking your first sample,
Okay.
and so if you didn't catch it on the front end of this, they don't know what they're drinking. Obviously, they know what their collection is at their house, but Beth
Too
poured
much.
Mike 3 samples, and Mike poured Beth 3 samples, and they don't know what they're getting at. So it could be they may have played games with each other and picked 3 things the other one hated.
My wife will like her lineup.
If it tastes like anything, if you want to describe it, I don't care if it's just this is fire water in the back of my throat, or if it is, hey, this is really cinnamon and tastes like big red gum, or this tastes like dusty peanuts, or whatever.
This one's it's got a real nice nose. Sometimes I'm so new at this, sometimes I have a hard time picking up what I'm smelling.
Okay. There's not a wrong answer. Whatever you taste or smell is what you're tasting and smelling.
But I feel like it has a real strong, like when it hits your tongue and then it falls flat. I feel like the nose is really, really effervescent on it. Hits your tongue real nice and then it kind of just falls flat. There's not a lot of burn, so I don't think it's a very high proof But sometimes that theory doesn't always hold true either. So, could be a really smooth bourbon, but
Yeah, for me on number one, the nose is pretty flat on it. I get a little bit of like a pepper and spice. Not picking up any oak flavor or char or anything like that. And the first couple of sips were flat and had kind of like a back leathery feel. I know this is low proof.
Okay.
Definitely under 100.
Yeah. Guys, I would maybe suggest saving a little bit of each sample in case you want to run back through them at the end if you're trying to decide the order you want to put them in.
My wife knows me. She made big pours for me, so.
I may or may not have been told don't give me a wimpy pour. Come on now.
I was in the shower when I said that, and she was getting her hair done.
Yeah. I was like, I know
That's
you.
great.
I know how much you like in your glass.
Yeah. So let's
this
get into a question while we're sipping on number one still. So for sample one, our category of questions is bourbon related questions.
Okay.
So Beth, if you'll pick number 1 through 8, we'll go with that question.
Okay, I'm gonna go with number 2.
Number 2. Oh. What is your best find and how did you find it?
Okay, so I have the best story for you.
Mike's.
I have literally, this is my perfect question. I am so glad I got this.
Yeah.
So let me just set the scene for you. Lowell is a small rural community. You pretty much know everybody at the grocery store. You cannot just run in and run out. It's a small podunk town, and our liquor store, really didn't catch on to the bourbon scene, that quickly. So one day I walk in and kind of sniffing around, seeing what we can find. What I could find out is by myself. He's at home, and I look behind the counter because typically they'll keep, the allocated bottles behind the counter if there are any. And I spot an old Fitzgerald 8-year decanter bottle, and I go, how much is, I want that. I actually didn't ask how much it was because I want that. And so she brought it down and she rang me up. It was $99.
Oh, dang.
And I said, it was like one of those memes where they throw the money at the people. I was just, take my money. And so the best part about it was his reaction when I brought it home, because I didn't give it to him right away. I think he was cleaning out the garage or something, and I fixed this lunch, and then I go, oh, I forgot something in the car. I'll be right back. And so I go to the car, and I bring in a brown paper bag, typical concealed
Gang.
Yeah.
I'm ready to roll. So I come in, and he sees me walking through with the bag, and he goes, what did you find? And so I made him close his eyes, and I put it in his hand, and it was I made his day. And
it was awesome.
that's
great.
To find something like that in our town for $99. It was the universe.
So right now, let me give you a little backstory on our town.
Oh,
they have Blanton's on sale for $198 right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
E.H. Taylor for $198, and get this.
Oh yeah.
Happy Van Winkle, 12-year, $17.99. It's got an inch of dust on it.
Yeah.
Yep. And she goes, oh, well, since you're a good customer, she goes, I'll knock $200 off. I go, give me the whole set. We're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're onto the bourbon scene now. But this was a couple years ago, when we had really freshly gotten into kind of getting bottles, and our curiosity was really kind of peaking. Well, what's this taste like? What's that taste like? So I don't know. I don't think we'll ever find another one like that in the wild for $99, but that was my coolest find, and I love it.
Yeah.
It was
For
epic.
certain at least not in the Midwest anywhere where everybody is absolutely bourbon crazed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, what about you? Same question.
Same question. Repeat that question again?
We did number 2. What's your best find and how did you find it?
Ooh. Well, I'm gonna go out and be sweet right here. My best find was this lucky lady right to my left.
Wow.
I stumbled upon her at
Quit
at a
it.
friend's party in Hebron, and I saw her playing volleyball in the backyard, and I instantly fell in love. So
Okay,
I
way to
went
make a girl blush. Let's get back to
So
bourbon.
he must have been in trouble earlier today and he's making up for it, right?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
What about when we went up to Illinois in Benny's, we found that blue run in the wild.
Oh yeah, we went to Benny's in
Illinois.
by Oak Ridge by the Miller's Ale House, wherever that is.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with Illinois at all. But we walked in there just on a whim. And we were scanning through the bourbon aisle. It was like 2 miles long, huge.
Yeah.
And of course, my wife has eagle eye.
Mhm.
I'm just scanning through. I'm like, eh. And then on the bottom shelf, she finds Blue Run, the
High rye.
the high rye.
Oh, there you
For,
go. Yeah.
What was it? $99?
89.
$89 a bottle.
Yeah. There you go.
And we snagged one, and we were talking to the guy that was working there, and he goes, "Oh, it's only 1 bottle per person." I'm like, "Well, I'm one person, she's one person, so can we get 2?" And he goes, "Oh, it doesn't really work like that."
Mm-hmm.
So we left
Interesting.
and we went and had lunch, and then we had a couple of drinks at lunch. I'm like, "I'm dropping you off at the front door, and you're gonna run in and buy another one."
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up scoring our first 2 bottles of Blue Run at
Nice.
Benny's.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, they do such a good job marketing. And I mean, their juice is great too, but being able to change the butterflies and everything
Yeah.
on the bottles, such a good marketing. Yeah.
Oh, and because of a butterfly, I love gardening and I love butterflies and I love everything about being outside. That was on my list, to want to buy and try for so long, just because it had a butterfly on it. I was like, I gotta try it, and
Yeah.
I really liked it. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Guys, if you want to get into sample 2,
Okay.
Get into sample 2 while you're doing that.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you would like to be a guest on an episode, email us at podcastbdb@gmail.com. You can also find our group on Facebook at the Bourbon Society of Indiana. Until next time, we hope you find something that tickles your taste buds. Cheers.